Hi everybody, so in this video I'd like to talk about the reasons why you end up stuck at, maybe 5, 5.5, 6 and you just can't get the score that you need, which is 6.5 or a 7. Okay, so this is on behalf of IELTS Britain, which is an organization that can help you move across that barrier and get up to the 6.5 that you need. Okay, so why are you stuck? So let's look at some of the key issues why you are stuck. First, we need to think about the marking criteria. Okay, and the first marking criteria is task achievement or task response. So in this case, one of the reasons why people aren't getting what they need is that they don't have a clear overview in the task 1, or they don't have a clear overview or conclusion in the task 2. Okay, so that's the most important thing. Secondly, for the task 2, you need to have a good range of arguments. And those arguments need to be on both sides of the question. And all of those arguments that you put forward, you need to have full supporting evidence for. Okay, so it's not enough just to give some ideas. You need to support those ideas with examples, explanations, and reasons. You also don't want to have too many ideas, because then you end up just having a list of ideas and you don't explain them in any detail. Okay. The next one is what we call coherence and cohesion. So in this case, the usual mistake that people make is that they're not using paragraphs, or if they are using paragraphs, then there is no central topic for each paragraph. Okay, so you must have for each of your paragraphs, what is this paragraph about? And you explain that in the first sentence. That is really, really important. The other thing you need to do to get a good score at coherence and cohesion is to use a range of linking expressions and to make it very clear to the examiner what you're doing in each paragraph and in each sentence. So make sure if you're giving an example, say, for example. If you're giving a reason, say, one of the reasons why, and then the examiner knows what you're doing. Okay. The next category is called lexical resource, which means vocabulary. Resource means that you have a wide range of vocabulary that you're using. So if anybody is repeating the same words, that is going to keep you down to a 5.5 or maybe even a 5. Secondly, spelling. If you have a good number of spelling mistakes, then it's not going to be possible to get certainly over a 6. And word formation. Are you using the right form of the word? Verbs, nouns, adjectives, that can cause a lot of problems. Okay. One of the most important things with vocabulary, and one of the biggest mistakes that people make, is using informal words in the task 2 essay. Must be formal language all the way through, and you must know which words you use, which register they belong to. Are they formal or are they informal? The last one is grammar. Obviously, grammar has to be accurate. So, if you are not joining your sentences together correctly, that's going to keep your score down. If you're using the wrong tense or the wrong form of the verb, that will also keep your score down. The other thing is grammatical range. So you should be using a good range of different sentence structures. So relative clauses, conditionals. If you're using all simple sentences, or you're joining all your sentences with and, that's certainly not going to get you a 6 or above. Okay, so why don't we look at an example to see what we're talking about. So if we look at this one, only a 5 for task achievement. That's because there's no overview. So even though all the figures have been reported, the units are there, the exact data is there, there's no overview, and so therefore it's not possible to get over a 5. That's the biggest problem that the person has made in this case. Okay. Also with the vocabulary, there are words which are not used correctly, so be sure that you are very precise with your use of words. And also here with the grammatical range and accuracy. So most of the sentences here are simple. You know, there's no conjunctions, there's no relative clauses, there's no ing clauses. So it's just a list of simple sentences. Can't get above really a 5 for that. And also the wrong tense. So again, big mistake sometimes people make with the task 1 is that they don't look at the timeline and then they don't use the correct tense. So make sure if you have a graph which is going forward into the future that you use future tenses. Make sure that if you have a task that's in a timeline that's in the past, that you use only past tenses and keep the tenses consistent. Don't jump about between different tenses. Okay, if we look at the task 2, again here we've got a 5. So here the way that it's organized, the way that it's done is not correct. The format is not correct. There's no conclusion at all. That takes you down to probably a 4 if you're completely missing the conclusion. The paragraphs don't have a central theme, and the language is not the right kind of language for a task 2 essay. So you've got to know what the examiners are looking for. You've got to use the classic essay structure: introduction, 2 body paragraphs, arguments on both sides, and then a conclusion. Okay, if you don't have that, you'll get a 4 in task response, and then it will be very hard to get your score back up to what it is that you need. Okay. Again, the paragraphs, there are paragraphs, but the paragraphs don't have any particular theme in each one. There's no clear division between the different paragraphs. So it's not enough just to use a paragraph. You have to also make sure that the topic of each one is different and clear to the examiner. Okay. There's quite a lot of repetition of vocabulary here, so they don't really have a good range of vocabulary, which means that that keeps their score down to a 5. And you know, they're often using the wrong word. Okay, so that means that they can't get a decent score for this one. Okay, we have things like the elder is not the correct form. Okay. So quite a few incorrect word choices, and again a lot of grammatical errors. Okay, so you've got to be accurate. Your grammar has got to be accurate. You've got to use complex sentences, but you've got to know how to use those complex sentences, how to join them together correctly. Okay, so I hope that helps. There is a template that you can use from IELTS Britain, which should help you use that correct format, use those correct sentences, organize your essay in the right way, and therefore get a much better score. Okay, thank you very much.